Good morning and welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects and Go Cloud Careers. We're here for another question and answer session because you know what I want to do? I want to get you all cloud hired. Personally, I've been working in technology now for more than 25 years, and I've spent more than 20 years helping people get their first tech job or get promoted in tech, and I want to help you get that first cloud architect job, that first solution architect job, that first cloud engineer job, the first cloud security architect job. I don't care. I just want to help you get cloud hired. I've been helping people do this for 20 years, and I'm going to help you too. So that's why we're here. Come and bring any cloud computing career training questions you have. Want to know what to learn, what to study, what to anything, you got it here. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. A lot of people had questions last night, and I love answering questions. Here's why I do it, and then I'm going to tell you some exciting things we have for you. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And early in my career, I did the certification, and guess what? Nobody cared. And then I had a chance to speak to some career experts. They told me exactly what to do. Like a rocket ship, my career took off. Within 6 months of the time I started working in technology, I was a lead architect. And you can do it too when you know exactly what to do and how to do it. Here's the thing. Take a light bulb in your house. It's just light, right? Take that light bulb and focus it, and it becomes a laser that can go through steel. So I want to help you become that laser that can conquer your dreams, get your first cloud architect job, get your first cloud engineer job, your first AWS solution architect job. I don't care. I just want to help you get your best job. Bear with me for a second. I didn't realize my phone wasn't muted, and someone like me gets at least 1,000 phone calls a day, so you don't really want to be hearing my phone every 2 seconds. So that's why we're here. Before we begin, I want to tell you about some super exciting stuff. Today, we're going to do a subnetting workshop, and anybody that comes is going to have a miraculous and fun experience. Here's the thing. You may have tried to learn subnetting from someone's only networking background as an advanced AWS advanced networking. I'm going to tell you, if that was the person who taught you, it'll be terrible and you'll never get it. And here's the reason why. If you can't, as Albert Einstein says, if you can't explain something simply, you don't know well enough. Well, I've got 25 years of networking experience. I'll tell you what my intro to networking was. It was the Cisco Certified Internet Expert. That was the thing that set me up to work on the projects for me to learn networking for the next 25 years. And I want to make sure that you're there. I taught engineers at Cisco. I taught engineers at Riverstone Networks, and I've taught customer engineers around the world networking, and I want to teach you too. So join us for the completely free subnetting workshop today. And while you're here, get some questions in the chat box so I can help you. Guess what else we're going to do? Tomorrow, a BGP workshop. Maybe you see my article in Hacker Noon on preventing BGP hijacking, but here's the thing. I've been working with BGP now for 25 years. I've been considered an authority and a subject matter expert on BGP. And I'll make sure that by the end of this complicated routing protocol that even half of the CCIs don't understand, you will get with simplicity and elegance. You'll know how to traffic engineer, and it's going to be fun, fun, fun. I'll get my hat with all the propellers on. I'll get a little geeky. I'll go from CEO to techie, remind me of the fun days of my youth, and we will be party time. So sign up for the free BGP workshop. Guess what? Next week, we're going to do a completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp. And it's not going to be like that stuff that people charge you for, which I can't even imagine why people would pay. I think they should pay you to watch it. It's torture. We'll never give you something that'll be PowerPoint slides with audio backup. What we're going to do is follows. I will teach the course because I've got 25 years experience. I will step down from my CEO role that week and teach this free public course on YouTube. I'll have my team back me up and do my job for the week. And I will be there and I will speak for 20 minutes and present like I would in any class, like I would teach at Cisco. And then we'll spend 10 minutes per hour. And you'll ask questions. And by the end of this, you will know. And we will never give you the nonsense of enabling a service and how to configure that service. We will teach you what is the technology, how does the technology work, and why you should use it, because that's the knowledge you need to do. Now, of course, we'll give you a sign up for free labs because I love hands-on practice. But here's the thing. We will teach you what you need to know in this free bootcamp on that AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate. So you'll understand the AWS services, when you can use them, when you can't use them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So join us. It's going to be completely free. And another surprise that I'm excited to talk about, join us next Tuesday night at 6 p.m. There's a miraculous fine young man. His name is Delray Batt. He's like my little younger brother. We became really close friends. He took my course about a year ago. And within 3 weeks, he had his first security job. He had been on 20 interviews before me. 3 weeks into my class, he had bought 3 private interview sessions plus my class, and he was hired working as a security engineer. He's going to come on. He's just got a brilliant cloud security architect job. Within 1 year of knowing me, he's been getting job offers by week, and we talked together on what I thought would be the best one for him. So he's going to be fantastic, and you're going to hear from this fine young man. He's 25 years old. Never worked in tech before. He was an EMT like I was. Last year, got him his first cloud security or his first security job, and now he's got his first cloud security architect job within 12 months of the time we met. And we did it for $750 of training. So, there's no university that charges $100,000 for the program that gets salaries the kind that we do. And we do it for a single day's pay because I want to help the world get cloud hired. That's what I do. I like getting people hired, promoted, etc. I don't need to work. I'm completely retired. And in my retirement, I come out and help you all get cloud hired. So please ask us any questions that you have in the chat box so we can help you get hired. And while we're at it, give me a hashtag, Cloud Computing Career Training. Pop it in there, and we're going to have fun today. And then Chris or Chow, who's on the other end of this today, I think it's Chow, as the questions come in, if you can pop one on there. But in the chat box, the reason we're here is the following reason: to help you get cloud hired, to help you get that first cloud architect job, that first solution architect job, that first cloud engineer job. So ask your questions. That's why we're here. Chow, do we have any questions? If not, I'm always happy to talk.
Mike, can you make sure to look at the StreamYard chat and the StreamYard window?
Okay. Oh, also on Thursday, we have, and you should definitely join us tomorrow morning. We have our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. And this is a very special presentation we do every single week. And in this presentation, people come from all around the world. I will tell you what is a cloud architect exactly, because 99% of the population doesn't know, and they learn all the wrong things. I will tell you how to leverage your past experience from your life. I don't care whether you were a football coach, an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor. I will tell you how to leverage your life experience. I will tell you what needs to be on your resume, a focused resume that's going to get you interviewed for a job that you can win and get hired for. I will tell you how to skip those HR people that put on these nonsense requirements on the resumes that don't even know what a cloud architect is. And I'll teach you how to bypass HR and get your resume directly in the hands of the hiring manager. And I'll show you the kind of things you can put on your resume that will get you that interview. And I'll tell you what you need to learn. So not only do you get that interview, you get hired. Here's the reality. I've never, and I think there's one time other than the case, I'm going to say I tend to not remember any times where I've ever been on an interview and not got hired, although I think 23 years ago, I went on an interview where I forgot to wear the right kind of suit and ran because I couldn't get a taxi, and they made me an offer, but I didn't like it. But I've been hired on every single interview that I've ever been on. And we're talking good companies: Cisco, Comcast, MCI WorldCom, which at the time which is now Verizon. I could go on, Dimension Data. I mean, big tier one Wall Street. And here's the reason why. I have nothing special about me, but I know exactly what hiring managers want. I know how to breach HR and get directly to the hiring manager. And I know how to communicate to the hiring manager that on what they need. And I teach my students that in our program. That's why our students are getting hired every single day. So join this free webinar, and I'm going to tell you how to do the same things. And it'll be fun, because I love to teach. At this point, it looks like I'm starting to see some questions in the chat box. So let's talk about them. Ishan, how do I rent a Linux system or follow any other prerequisites if I want to do an online course with you? What prerequisites do I need to fulfill? Do I do an online course? Do not physically attend classes? Here's the thing, Ishan. There are no prerequisites on my program, and here's the reason. Before I actually decided to do this and come out of retirement to help you, I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people, and here's the thing. Not a single one knew anything about architecture despite certification. Practicing Linux labs, if you want to be an architect, is not going to help you. Now, there's certain ones that will, But here's the thing. A cloud architect, Sean, designs, presents, and sells. We don't touch the tech. Now, we provide in our program everything you need from scratch. And the cloud practitioner is not fundamentals training. It's nonsense. We will teach you what all the technology is, all of the network and data center technologies that you need to know, the BGP, the OSPF, the IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting, how to use NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT, etc. We will teach you the wide area network technologies that you need to know, such as SSL-based VPNs, IPsec-based VPNs, private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking, and SASE, because you need to know all of that. We will teach you the switching you need to know, which includes VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, etc., link aggregation groups, ether channel, etc., etc., etc. I will teach you all of that because that stuff's not covered in these AWS certifications, but you can't do the job without it. Then we will teach you how ARP works and proxy ARP and DNS and DHCP because you can't do the job without it. And then we will teach you virtualization. You'll work with our VMware ESXi servers, but we'll also teach it to you. You will design and build your own containers, even though we don't do these things as an architect, we design it, but I'm gonna have you build it anyway so you can get hands-on. I will have you build and work with firewalls, and I will have you build and work with VPN concentrators. I will have you set up file servers on our servers in our data center. I will have you deal with NFS file servers that you'll create, server message block file servers that you'll create for Windows. I will have you build Active Directory servers. And you know what? You're going to be building a cloud in my program. And here's the reason why. People are like, hey, I did a S3 bucket. I made a WordPress website. Here's my portfolio. Is it good? And you go to the manager and they laugh. Somebody says, I've got a Git project on the resume, and the hiring manager laughs. I don't know why, but out of nowhere, I'm seeing a bunch of Git projects pop up on solution architect resumes. I got to remove them or the people are never going to get hired because we design, present, and sell. We don't do Git. I mean, I've never used Git in 25 years. I'm an architect. And here's the thing. If you look like an architect, walk and talk like an architect, you'll get hired as an architect. But if you don't look, walk, and talk like an architect, you're not an architect. So there's that. We will also teach you the critical skills because nobody's getting hired with just tech skills for these jobs. We will teach you the business acumen that you need, the CXO relevancy you need, the leadership skills that you need, the soft skills that you need, the executive presence training you need, the negotiation skills that you need, the executive writing skills. It's all in our program. Our program is a $50,000 program, which we knocked the course down to less than $1,000 to help you all because I don't need to work and we run the course close to our cost intentionally. So we can just be a solution provider to the world. We architect people's careers every day. But no, there is no benefit to you doing any prerequisites. And here's the thing. Unless you take good training where you're going to spend $4,000 or $5,000 for the week and you do the training on like a Udemy or one of those other platforms, chances are you're going to get an instructor that doesn't even know what they don't know. Otherwise, they'd either have their own company or they'd be working at one of these companies. The architects get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year if we're good. I'm only doing this for one reason. I don't need to work. And I love to teach. And I've got a staff of people all over the world that help. So, no, I want you to come straight into class and I want to teach it to you all from scratch. I don't want you to develop bad habits that I have to teach you to unlearn. When I get people that are certified, I have to unlearn all their certification things and teach them the reality. So, no, I've got no prerequisites whatsoever. Yesterday, a psychologist student of mine got hired. Yesterday, someone in the ANZ region got hired who did not have a tech background. And yesterday I had somebody who did have a software developer background. We had to do real rebranding of him in order to get them hired. There's 3 people I got hired just yesterday. And if you take our course, you will be attending classes with our program over Zoom. As long as you have the Cloud Architect Career Development Plus Live, we'll have 3 classes per week on Zoom. And on these classes, we'll talk, answer your questions, design architectures together. You'll have to present them back and sell them to me just like the real job. We train the way we work. And in my program, we have about 500 hours of training, but there'll be video assignments and projects that you do. And you'll be practicing the interviews, turning it in for feedback. You'll be turning in your resume and we'll be giving you feedback. You'll be building career plans for your perfect career. So we get to your goals now and a couple of years from now. You'll be designing architectures and turning them in. We train the way you work and we start people from scratch. And you know what? Even when we have people that have experience, we have to start them from the beginning because the reality is, unless you are a network architect or a data center architect or an enterprise architect, You don't have the fundamentals anyway, just based on certifications. No, join us as fast as you can. And here's the other reason why. If it costs you 4 months to learn these things and you're going to learn mostly irrelevant skills on your own, mostly irrelevant because you're not even going to know what to know or not know, because unless you've worked as an architect, you don't know what you need. You spend 4 months. Here's the thing, Ishan. The average salary of a cloud architect is $600 a day. A good one easily earns double that. So if you spend 4 months wasting your time on an irrelevant certification to try and learn it on your own, and then we have to teach you how to unlearn it, you spent $12,000 per month for the average cloud architect times 4 months. That's $48,000. So for me, I'm going to get you hired as fast as possible. There's an opportunity cost of your time at $600 a day. So the faster you get in, the faster you get out. And we would love to work with you. And I'd love to not only work with you, but a month from now, or 8 months from now, be able to post a YouTube video on you and say, Ishan is cloud hired. That would make me happy. That's the best part of my day. I live for it. Last night, me and Chris and Alonzo from my team, literally speaking, we're sending messages to each other all day via text about all the cloud hires we had that day, because we live for it. We could all do something else. But for us, it's about getting people hired, because it's about changing lives. And that's why we do it. That's why we offer a $50,000 course for less than $1,000. The people that know me call me once a week and they're like, Mike, you're crazy. I know it's in your course. And I say, I'm not crazy. I just want to help people. So we'd love to work with you, Ishan, and I know we can help you. Ciao, if you want to go to the next one. And please ask questions in the box. Now's the time to ask your questions. And while we're at it, please hit the like button, comment, subscribe, tell a friend. We want to help as many people as possible. Good morning. Bader UI, good morning, tuning in from New York. That's the place I worked in for a long time, lived in Princeton, New Jersey for a period of time. Welcome. Mohammed, hello, good morning, or good afternoon, depending upon where you're at. Robert Welch, good morning. Yes, cloud hired, cloud security, and now hiring. Robert Welch is a fine man, an excellent security architect. Excellent. Chris, regarding becoming a cloud architect, obtaining Cisco certificate training and Linux certificate training, are they most likely an added advantage? Chris Nike, I want you to be clear. Cloud architects design, present, and sell. Design, present, and sell. So certificates that teach the name of a service and how to configure that service do nothing for us, because that's not what we do. Now, having said that, we use certifications to help get the interview. Certifications, what I create the illusion of competence. See, it's all fake. Name of a service, how to configure that service. Name of the service, how to configure that service. And for architects, we design it, present it, and sell it. So there's nothing in any certifications that's relevant to us. But the CCNP, the Cisco Certified Networking Professional, is a valid certification, and I'll explain to you why. The cloud is nothing more than a network and a data center that's been virtualized. And the reality is, what we did in the network and data center 20 years ago, the cloud can't even keep up with yet. The cloud does some other cool stuff, but it's still catching up to the features, functionality, and performance of what we did 20 years ago in the data center. It's because the cloud can't be as good, because here's the reason. The cloud provider can't run QoS on their network. They can't shape any traffic shaping on their network. They can't give you guaranteed bandwidth for certain, et cetera things, because it's a shared network. Where in your own data center, you've got shorter distances, lower latencies, ability to do much more security if you need it, although most organizations have better security in the cloud because they can't afford it. But kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So the CCNP is good, and here's the reason. The CCNP teaches BGP, like I talked about, OSPF, like I talked about, IP subnetting, supernetting, etc. And the way they teach it at Cisco is not like an AWS course where it's the name of a service and just how to configure that service. What they teach at Cisco works on all routers and switches and clouds. So for that reason, I like it. The BGP, the OSPF, the subnetting, supernetting, the WAN technologies, whether they be SSL VPNs, IPsec tunnels, whether they be Ethernet over MPLS, whether they be software-defined network, and whether it be SASE, Cisco will teach you all of that. Cisco will continue to teach you in that program, the VLANs, the VLAN tagging, the VLAN trunking, link aggregation groups, ARP, proxy, ARPNet. And so, yes, the CCNP is actually helpful. It's actually helpful. Now, the Linux certificate, not really. Now, if you had nothing else, and if you had nothing else, it would be helpful. But here's the reason. What you need to know about Linux is how to architect Linux. How does the Linux kernel work? How do the packages in Linux work? Where are the drivers? How to tune their performance? Yes. But here's a Linux certificate. LS. Grep this, pipe this. How to do stuff. We don't do stuff. We design stuff. So getting skills and doing, it's not that. So Chris, think about it this way. You've got a building architect that designs a building. Do you think it's advantageous to teach them how to use a hammer, a screwdriver, a nail, or whatever? No, because it's not part of their job. Now, if you had a Linux background, yes, it would be great. If you hated networking and wanted to do a Linux certificate to show data center, sure, something like an open stack kind of thing, we'd learn how to design and build your own cloud from scratch. Yeah, that would be good. But as a rule, design, present, and sell. This is not a job that benefits from a million certifications at all. Maybe a CCNP and an AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, or an Azure Solution Architect Expert, or a Google Professional Cloud Architect. That's it. No more. No mas. I don't care which language you put it in, but no more. Because the more you do, the more you look like a techie and the less you look like an executive. But take all that time, which I'd consider wasted time on a Linux certificate, unless that was the only thing you could do, and replace it with the things that are going to get you hired. Your sales skills, your presentation skills, your executive presence, your emotional intelligence, your leadership skills, your negotiation skills, your executive writing skills, etc., etc., etc. They're the skills for the job. So focus on those skills, Chris Nike, and you're going to do great. But certifications are not going to help you. Now, you need one or two to get the job interview. But beyond that, having the ability to code or configure or script something, which is somebody else's job, is not advantageous to a normal architect. Look at it this way. Do you think it would make an airplane pilot better to do flight attendant training? No. Do you think it would make a physician better to become a nurse first? No, because it's a different job. Do you think becoming a lawyer would help an airplane pilot? No, because it's a different job. So Chris Nike, train for your job. Master your job. Get out of everybody else's job, and you will win, 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 win. And tell me how great your career is then. And then Chris or Chow, we can go to the next one. And please ask your questions. Don't be shy. I'm easygoing and soft and cuddly, just like a giant teddy bear or a stuffed lion, whatever you like. Toby Leo. I don't have any questions. Just want to appreciate you for the great work you're doing. Toby Leo, that means so much to me. Thank you for tuning in. I think for you, if I remember correctly, you're in Nigeria, which makes it 2:30 in the afternoon. So happy afternoon. I could have that wrong. But whatever the case is, I'm so grateful you're here, Toby, and I'm thankful you're here. Please keep coming around here so we can do as much as we can to help you. Up and up. If you say the certifications don't mean much to get the job, how do I show that you're a good candidate if I didn't graduate from university and have no certification? Up and up, I said certifications won't get you hired, but I said certifications will help you get an interview. How do you become great? So I'm going to tell you right now. Next week, when you see Delroy Batt, you'll see what he did. When you go to my channel, and I want you to watch Daniel Bosu, he did not graduate high school. He got 2 certifications, like we told him, and that's it, no more. And he's now working as a solution architect for JP Morgan Chase. Last week, one of my students, Jermaine, Jamaican guy, so much fun. Reggae is my favorite kind of music, and I love Jamaica and all things West Indian. So when he told me he was Jamaican, we instantly clicked, and we had a ton of fun together. Lots of jokes, listened to some reggae back and forth. We were recommending songs to each other. And he was owning a landscaping company, and he just got hired as a cloud architect. And he didn't do it by getting a ton of certifications. How do you do it? You put just enough on your resume. Then you have to build the right resume that shows the architect things. My average student gets between 5 and 15 people that reach out to them each day to try and hire them because it's the right resume. The right resume. So if your resume talks about designed OpenStack Cloud, yeah, you got something there. Designed OpenStack Cloud and federated it with Active Directory. Hey, ooh, that's showing experience. And these are the kind of things my students do. Design multi-cloud architecture inclusive of X, Y, Z. That's what they need to know. So up and up, if you're in our program, not only will we give you a job title, we will give you work to do. And you will be building clouds, even though we don't touch the tech because you can say you did it. You will be designing an entire environment. You will be designing architectures with 40,000 remote locations, big banks, big retailers, healthcare organizations, and you'll have a portfolio of things that you can say you did. That's how you show the employer that you're good, not your certifications. Your certifications don't mean much at all other than to get you the interview. That's the whole point. Because here's the reason. Here's what it's like interviewing a person with lots of certifications. Could you tell me how to load share across 2 equal cross direct connections to the AWS? And I go, huh? And then they go to the load balancer world because that's the only thing they've heard of, or DNS. And it's like, no, this is BGP. Tell me about BGP. It uses TCP port 179. How do you know that? Tell me about what it is, though. I don't know. That was all that was on my AWS Advanced Networking, as well as my AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, because it doesn't really talk about BGP in any depth. And then I said, tell me about storage. And they say, S3. And I say, tell me what it is, how it works, why an organization will use it. And they give me the nonsense as part of the AWS marketing document, where I want to know, how does the RAID-away work that they have? What does the data come in? How is it broken down into objects? What kind of metadata is with that object? How do I access the data? Can I look at part of it or all of it? How do I tune it? What do I use it for? What do I not use it for? How do I use object storage to tune a company's business performance? Not there in the AWS Certified Solution Architect, AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, because it's the name of a service and how to configure that service. And all these little silly architect certifications are teaching junior level engineering or administration. So you have to put things down. All of ours, and I want you to come to our thing tomorrow, all of our students actually become cloud architects with Go Cloud careers, and they get real experience. But if you're on your own, do this. Build the research and development section on your resume. In there, go buy a server. These are what we use. So you can take my course and use our servers, or you can buy the server on your own. I don't care. Buy yourself a server with a minimum of 16 cores, Xeon, of course, at least 128 gigs of RAM, and 3 SSD drives in RAID 0 or in a NVMe drive. Now, right now, with all the crazy inflation we have, it's going to cost you about $2,000. Or you can buy our course for $800 and use our servers, get trained, and learn how to be an architect. I don't really care what you do. I just want you to get hired. Now, if you're with us, you'll have a Go Cloud Careers job title, and you'll be doing these kind of things with us. And that way, you will have real cloud architect work. But if you're not with us, you need to learn what is the tech, how does the tech work, and how do you use it? So go buy a server. Set up VMware ESXi on the server. Set up KVM, QEMU. This is real virtualization knowledge and experience, and you will know what it is. And when you know that, it doesn't matter whether you're on it's an EC2 instance on AWS, a Google Compute Engine instance, an Azure virtual machine, an Oracle virtual machine, because you're going to know exactly what it is. Now, you need to know what it is because you can't take it out of the data center to the cloud unless you know what it is. So do that. Design and build some containers on your own cloud, in your own server. Set up a file server for enterprise-wide computing. Set up one on Linux for enterprise-wide computing. Do one on Windows, one on Linux. Design a firewall. Build the firewall and use the firewall for enterprise-wide security. Set up a VPN concentrator in your architecture and use it for enterprise-wide remote access, which you're going to do all on this server. Again, it's included with my course, but you could buy the server, which is 3 times the cost of my course. But I don't care. I just want you getting hired and telling you how to do it. Set up Active Directory because you're going to be dealing with that for everything for identity and access management. Set up the Linux Apache MySQL stack just so you can say you did it. Design and build your own cloud. I mean it. Build your own cloud. You got to. So here's the thing. Here's what hiring managers want. People that know how to do the job, technically competent, people they can trust. People that know what they know and know what they don't know. People that are energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate about the technology. People that bring out the best in others and raise the energy of the room. People that are willing to go above and beyond, and team players. So, who's more motivated? I set up an S3 bucket, or I designed a cloud. Here's the thing about it. Who's willing to go above and beyond? Who's more technically competent? Now you know why we do these things. Who's more energetic, enthusiastic, passionate? I did a little AWS lab, or I designed and built a cloud. So that's how you show that you're good. You do stuff that's special, stuff that's directly focused on your career, something that signals that hiring manager when they see your resume that I need to bring this person in, they may know. And then once you get that interview, it doesn't matter if you've got zero experience or not. Now I'm going to tell you this up and up. If you go in that interview and you tank the interview, here's the response. Come back when you have more experience. I can't hire you, don't have enough experience. But here's the thing up and up. Nobody gets a job because of what's on their resume. They get a job because the hiring manager likes them, wants them, sees their competency, energy, enthusiasm, passion, capability, integrity. So you got to show that in your resume. Show your projects. And there's a way to write your resume, and there's a way to write your LinkedIn profile. My average student gets between 5 and 15 responses per day from people reaching out to them, even before they have certifications, because they have a Go Cloud Careers brand and they know we mean business. About a year ago, someone from Amazon, one of the directors over there, came into one of our classes to tell our students why they loved us so much. And that wasn't the position of Amazon, that was his position. And he sent me an email and he says, I need a lot of your people. He said, I don't want certified people that know nothing. I want people that know how to design a system, communicate that system to executives, lead a team of engineers, present it, sell it, negotiate it, exactly like you teach. I need soft skills, executive presence and communication skills. I don't need a coder. And that's where you do it. You have your resume, make it clear. Your resume should have executive writing on it. And it feels a certain way. Your resume should have an executive summary, and it needs to look and feel a certain way. There's things that don't belong in an architect's resume at all, which I see in 90% of them when they come to me. It's knowing what needs to be there and not needs to be there. So you go in a job interview, you wear a suit, a good suit, a tie, you're making sure your hair is perfect, etc., etc. You got to present it. You want to sell your car, it's a used car. You leave it dirty with mud all over it? No. You take it to be cleaned. You get it vacuumed, detailed, polished up, and looks real shiny, and then you sell it. So you have to do that for you. It's the work to make you and your profile look good, and then the world will come to you, and when they see you, they'll do it. That's how you show it. And like I said, I've got people that haven't even graduated. I had one student that didn't even graduate high school that got hired by JP Morgan Chase. Why? He was awesome. He was awesome. His energy, his enthusiasm, and passion. If I had a son, I'd want him to be just like that, because he had the fight in his mind, the intelligence in his mind, and the fight in his heart. Who's the most successful people in the world? The people that work the hardest. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't try. All I have to say about that. Up and up, you can easily get there. Train with us and you'll get there. Follow all our training on here and you'll get there a lot slower. But the point is we can try and help you get there even free. I just want you hired. And certification, unfortunately, is not going to do it for you. Not for these jobs. The only certification I know on its own that will get anybody a job is the Cisco Certified Internet Expert. But, I spent about $40,000 to do that certification because I bought quality training and was running routers and switches. I read 1,000 pages a day for 6 months to do it. I read a lot. Maybe it was only 500 pages a day. It was about 75,000 pages of reading. But I remember when I got that first job, I was read until I knew it. Because I didn't have anybody teaching me in the beginning. I went to certification providers and spent $20,000 on certifications, and they didn't know what they didn't know. But when I got some training from Cisco, etc., but their training, they taught me what I needed to know. And you know what? I paid a pretty penny for it. As did my company paid, but they taught me. It's not like this videos that you've seen me move a service, how to configure a PowerPoint slides with audio. That's not training. I don't know what the heck that is. There you are. Mike, you were at an AWS summit and there were protesters against AWS. Have you ever heard of any companies picking a cloud due to PR problems? Bader, every company gets sued that's big. No matter what AWS does, there's going to be protesters. It doesn't matter. You can't please all people. You can please some people some of the time. You can please other people most of the time, but you can't please all people all the time. I don't remember who said that, but that's the reality. You're always going to have protesters if you're a big company, no matter how good you are. Look, AWS is a great cloud. Azure is a great cloud. Google is a great cloud. And I know I make fun and make jokes about the names that AWS calls things, because I don't know how many millions of dollars they pay people to use silly terms like elastic. But here's the thing. Their cloud's great. And companies pick a cloud because of the following. They trust the cloud provider can do what they need. They have faith in the cloud provider. The cloud provider has something that's better, faster, and cheaper than what they currently have, et cetera, et cetera. The cloud provider can help them solve business problems. Nobody cares about PR issues. This is not Hollywood. This is businesses that need real things for real reasons. So no, because somebody's picking Amazon because people work hard there, et cetera. No. Now, better UI, what will cause a shift? Well, this year, Amazon had 4 outages. Look, I'm not blaming Amazon for 4 outages. I expect every cloud provider to have 4 outages a year. It's normal. That's why we always use 2 internet service providers, 2 private line providers, 2 cloud providers. You got to be crazy to use a single cloud. And we've been telling people that forever. For the last 20 some years, all of us architects have always been taught to use 2 separate organizations, because what will happen? Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong, I promise you, will go wrong. And if you're crazy enough to put all your eggs in one basket as a company, you'll have a problem. Now, when AWS said we had an impaired network and that we're down for hours, and then they had another major outage and they said we had a power failure in our data center, that, I believe, will cause many people to go to somebody else. And here's the reason why. Most data centers are designed in the following manner. 2 power companies coming in, multiple transformers coming in, generators, and I don't mean one, but multiple generators, backup generators, and backup batteries. So when AWS said, hey, sorry, we had a power outage in the data center, that did not satisfy people like me. Now, when people like me hear that, or people that know, like the customers that are buying those services, and they hear something that says power failure in a data center, what does that signal? Either AWS does not have any idea how to build a data center, and trust me, they do. They've been bankrupt a long time ago. They are experts at data center management. Or what are they hiding from us? Were they hacked? Did they have a control plane failure? Did they make a BGP mistake, et cetera, et cetera? There's lots of things that could have occurred. And who knows? Maybe both power companies failed. Maybe their generators failed. Maybe their backup generators failed and their batteries failed. Who knows? But when you see things where we don't trust, that's what causes a shift. And you may notice, look at the speed of Azure's growth. In terms of total cloud revenue, they're the highest right now of any cloud provider. And it accelerated like crazy last year. So lack of transparency scares people. 10 outages in a row are going to scare people. AWS not delivering what they promised will cause a shift. But a couple of protesters, who cares? I expect protesters everywhere. I remember one time I was in Spain and everywhere I went, there was protesters. One time when I go to visit my home in Greece, I leave my village, I go to Athens, there's protesters. You go to France, there's protesters. Every day there's a protester about something. We can't change our lives based upon protesters. We function on how do we solve the company's business problem, not worry about that. There's always conflict in the world. I wish it wasn't true, but here's the thing. We can't change our businesses based around worldly conflicts. We have to service our customers. The whole point of our customers buy our technology and buy our designs is as follows: to improve their business. And we owe it to that customer to improve their business. Now, beta UI, if you're an architect and there's a whole lot of brand challenges going on and there's a PR team involved, they may ask the architect to design some technology to help improve that and improve the brand. You may do that, but no, they're not running away from a technology company because somebody protested about what's going on in a warehouse. There may be a city or two that'll do that, but the rest of the world wants to make their business work and function. I see AWS getting lots and lots and lots more business because they're a great cloud. They really are. They have a lot of great technology people there. All these clouds are excellent. They are network and data center people, just like me, to put them together. In fact, I've been working on cloud since 1996. Frame Relay, ISDN, ATM, RSC 2547 cloud, the BGP cloud, VPLS. Clouds aren't new. And here's the thing, outages occur, but how you handle an outage, now look at Azure, they were hacked. We were hacked. Clear, they told the whole world. Nobody wants to be hacked. It's embarrassing to be hacked, but Azure told people this happened. Whoa. Business kept going towards them. And why? Because people trusted them. I do business with people I can trust. Well, Reddit, hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And tell a friend to join us so we can help them build their best cloud architect career, solution architect career, cloud engineer career, whatever they like. Cloud 22. The cloud certs are so vast to study. Please give tips to clear the exam and learn cloud. Hey, wait, you actually said it right. Here, how do I clear the exam? And you separate it by how do I learn cloud. Cloud 22, there's about 10,000 different jobs you can do on the cloud. And right now, if you said, which airplane should I get on? I'd say, where do you want to go? If you asked me which degree I should get, I'd say, what career do you desire? So if you ask me about which certifications to get, I need to know your goal career, because otherwise it's irrelevant. Most of these certifications will hurt your career and not help your career because they build the brand of somebody else's job. So please tell me what you'd like to do. I would like to be a cloud architect. I'll give you a plan. I would like to be a solution architect. I'll give you a plan. I would like to be an enterprise architect. I'll give you a plan. I would like to be a cloud engineer. I'll give you a plan, but I can't give you a plan without knowing your destination. So please tell me your goal, and then I can tell you what to learn. But it's not like, here's what you need to learn to work on the cloud, because there's 1,000,001 cloud jobs. And I know people that teach that. The people that I consider giving the dangerous advice. Here's what you need to do. Do the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate, the Cloud Practitioner, the DevOps Associate, the SysOps Associate, and then the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. Do you know what happens with them? I'm going to tell you right now. Here's what happens. They go on an interview and people ask them about all this irrelevant nonsense and they never get hired. Now, I know the proud cloud providers, we got a certification bundle. It's buy. Here, it's cheap. It's not cheap, and here's the reason why. If you learn the wrong skills, you wasted your time. Now, if it takes you a year to learn irrelevant skills that lower your salary because they learned somebody else's job and you haven't learned your job, the average cloud architect earns $160,000 a year, and a good one earns double that. I've got graduates earning double that as well, periodically. Here's the thing. You just lost $150,000 to $300,000 because you learned all this. And then when it's going to come to getting hired, here's what we need to do. Remove half of those things from your resume to make you look like you have the right brand for your job. So please tell me what you'd like to do, and then I will tell you how to get there, because that's my goal, to get you all cloud hired. Let me bear with this. I think I have some sound coming that's going to be coming into my office very quickly. So hope I answered your question. Please tell me your goal, and I will tell you exactly what to learn. Hey, Shan, thanks, Mike. That was really helpful. I'm excited to join you. I'm excited to join you well. Good vibes. Thank you. I love good vibes. Chris Mike, good morning here in Liberia. I'm sorry, Liberia. I don't know why I was thinking of Legos, L and L. So I was thinking, so Liberia, fantastic. I've got students in Liberia. We got lots of people come from there. So welcome, Chris Mike. I'm so happy and excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us. PDADMC, besides the enrollment fee, are there any other expenses related to our program? No. We can't make it. We took a $50,000 program, squished it down for a total cost of $999. And right now, I think we have a 20% off coupon that's sitting in there. So no other expenses whatsoever. You take our course. Now, if you choose to take a certification with a cloud provider, some of them charge and some of them don't. I don't think Azure charges right now. I know Oracle doesn't charge. AWS does charge a fee, but that's with you and them. But there are no fees for us at all, just once and done. Because we're trying to make a difference in your life, improve your life, improve your career, improve your salary. Look, you'll see if you look at Daniel Bosu's video, he took one of these $35,000 boot camps that was supposed to help him level up and get a job. And after the boot camp, he couldn't get hired. He came to me. I felt so bad that we found a special place for him in our company. 8 months later, he's now working at JP Morgan Chase. And I did it so people don't have to pay $35,000 for a boot camp to learn a silly certification and nothing else. I work hard. I work hard to make sure everybody gets it. Now, this isn't, bear with me a second, this is a group program. So you can ask questions in class, you can message us outside on Slack, etc., and we'll answer your classes. Now, people want to book a special private meeting with me, that's outside of the course of the program. It's discounted to our students by 50%, but nobody needs to book special classes with me. I teach the architect classes 3 times per week, and we have fun. Students ask me whatever questions they need to in class, and my team and my staff, which is big now, works really hard to make sure my students are successful, answering questions. Our students form work groups on Slack. I've got people working together and meeting up in every city in the world, whether it be London, whether it be San Francisco, New York, Dallas. I get to see photos all the time. So no other expenses whatsoever. Hey, I interview for a FinX architect position next week. Is that safer than a cloud architect given the current economic farm test? Probably less. So here's the thing. I want you to understand what is a cloud architect and why it's probably the safest position in the world right now. And why anything related to operations is always not. So Dingo, I'm going to look at it this way. As a cloud architect, our main job is to design, present, and sell, which means we bring money into the company. We bring it in. So when layoffs occur, here's what happens. The salespeople that are producing get kept. They hire more. The architects that are producing get kept, and sometimes the companies hire more. Who do the companies get rid of? The operations people, anything with associated ops attached to it. And here's the reason why. I'm an architect. I go meet with a global bank. We work together, and I design this $300 million cloud solution. I bring it into the company. I generate it with the sales rep, the sales engineer, and whoever else, $300 million. I brought in the money. Now, somebody has to build it. I can lay off half of my cloud admins and make everybody else work twice as hard, which is what companies will do. Or they'll outsource, which we'll talk about next. Why? Because they're expenses. Who gets cut? The marketing department, because they're not directly tied to sales. You can't quantify what marketing does a lot. Who gets cut? Back-end engineering. Who gets cut? Software developers. Who gets cut? Operations people. Who doesn't get cut as a rule if they do their job? People that bring money into the business. So if you want to stay away from things, stay away from anything with operations in it. Operations people cost money. Give you an example of how critical this is and how serious this is. I'm a nurse practitioner. I can practice internal medicine. I could, but never would. If I walked into a hospital and brought in a patient with chest pain, the hospital is going to love me because they're going to basically say, get paid $50,000 for that patient. Now, if I was a total creep, yelled at all the nurses and all the people at the hospital, and the nurses complained about me, the hospital will tell the nurse, well, sorry, there's nothing I can do about that. Mike brought me 10 patients this week, which is $500,000 of sales. You cost me money. So if you don't like Mike, here's the door. Now, it's crazy. And I was a nurse before I was a nurse practitioner, and I had to deal with this. The reason the hospitals cater to the doctors is they bring the patients there. They admit the patients, and poof, they're making money because they're sales reps. So the solution architect or the cloud architect that's helping the company close business does not get laid off. Now, who does get laid off? Anybody that costs money. Now, I want you to think about this, Dingleman, in today's world, how serious it is. And this is the reason I will never teach help desk. I don't teach programming skills. And I don't teach admin skills like sysadmin or sysops skills for these following reasons. They're the first to get cut. So what affects salary and what affects need? If you've ever taken macroeconomics and you're familiar with these supply and demand curves, the greater the supply, the lower the price. The greater the demand and the lower the supply, the higher the price. Keep that in the back of your mind for everything. In college, when people study computers, they don't learn anything related to their job, but they all know how to code. Think about that. Everybody learns how to code, which means the supply is here. Now let's think about what happens in a down economy. I need my cloud architect to generate that $300 million of sales. But who, by comparison, do I need to build it? Now, in the old days, where I had network admins and sysadmins, and where they were mattered because we worked in a data center and you had to be on the network. Now we're using a cloud and it's all remote access because the cloud is nothing more than a network in a data center hosted by somebody else. Now I need a software developer. I can get a better software developer in India for $15 an hour than I can in America for $60 an hour. And because of that, maybe it's $80 an hour to get the equivalent, because that's called arbitrage, and organizations do that. So if I'm going to outsource, where am I going to go? I'm going to go to places that are lower cost. Where do you have great engineers? Ukraine, lots of good engineers. Africa has an incredible number of educated technology professionals. The world just hasn't seen it yet, but I see it every day. India has some of the best engineering education in the world. Pakistan has incredible engineering. Israel has incredible engineering. You'll find excellent engineers all over the world. And when times get tough, back-end engineers get outsourced. How much do I know about outsourcing? A lot. At one point in my career, I had worked in a project that was based on strategic outsourcing. And I would help organizations do the following. Their job, and replace the people with lower cost people somewhere else. Now, if I didn't do it, somebody else was doing it, I would call, Mike, we got a staff. Oh, it cost us this. Who do we need and what can we outsource? And it's like, you need this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Because they're your system designers. And if you have them, they're the core knowledge of how everything's going to work. But who does the hands-on technology? It doesn't matter. So look at it this way. If you needed a hotel built, you would go to an architecture firm, because you need a designer. But you would bid out who's the cheapest construction crew that can get the job done, because the building is often much less sophisticated and much less expensive than the design. So the cloud architect is going to be much safer. And especially, you got to look at what's going to happen with banks and banking. The good news for banks, and which will make a bank relatively safe right now, is interest rates are rising. So that is good news for the banks, because they make more money when the interest rates are higher. The downside is, let's really look at what's going on. If interest rates go up, chances are the stock market goes down. And a lot of the money banks make is on stock trading. Now, the good news is, in times of economic uncertainty, and we got a lot of it right now, we got some scary levels of inflation and some really bad things going on, you get what's called market volatility, meaning stocks go up, stocks go down, stocks go up and down. Much larger levels, the beta on these stocks is much higher than it normally would be. And in these times, really good companies that are experts at technology can use algorithmic trading to buy and sell more frequently. And the faster you can do that, the more money these companies can make. And where can you do it the fastest? In the data center. So keep that in the back of your mind. But cloud architect, sales rep, as long as you do your job, are the safest positions, etc., in a down economy. Great question, Dingleman. And then if you want to go to the next one, hit the like button. So Ikros, thank you. So cloud architect, design, present, and sell. So what constitutes a design art in terms of tech? Great question. So here's the thing. I meet with a company and they tell me about their business goals, their business challenges, their pain points, and all the problems that they want me to help them solve. I then baseline the organization's current systems. And then I ask the people what they do in their job. Then I create an optimal end state, which says, for this to occur, I need these employees to talk to these employees. I look at the people, the processes, and the technology. No different than the Michael Porter things that are taught at Harvard University and every MBA program on people, process, and technology. I then determine what is the optimal end state. How do I want the company to look? And then I go back and say, okay, I need 100,000 virtual machines. I need this CRM application inside there. I need this unified communications platform. I need this platform for supply chain. In order to secure our enterprise, we're going to have to put these firewalls at the perimeter of our system, followed by these IDS, IPS systems, followed by an access control list, followed by a security group, followed by a host, and on that host, I'm going to have to disable unnecessary services. I'm going to have to patch the host. I'm going to have to provide some anti-malware protection for the host. I'm going to have to put in host-based IDS, IPS system, patch, etc. Now, in order to make sure my users are who they are, I need some form of authentication, authorization, accounting. What are my options? Do I federate with a provider, an identity provider? Do I set up Active Directory? How do I scale for the 300,000 employees? Now, what kind of storage do I need to make this database work? Well, block storage is pathetically slow, despite what they tell you in your hard drive, in your course. What kind of RAID environment do I need to set up on my databases to make sure the latency is sufficient to give me the throughput and the input and output operations I need per second? Now, what do my connections need to look like connecting to the cloud provider? Do I need 1 gig, 10 gig, 100 gig? Can I bundle 4 of them together? What do those routers connecting to the cloud provider look like? Can I get away with a cheap router? Do I need a router that's going to have 2 control modules and 2 power supplies on 2 circuits and 4 line cards, etc., etc., etc.? What does my IP addressing scheme need to look like? How do I need to lay out the addresses to make sure the routing functions smoothly? How do I engineer my traffic that I can send traffic on this link and this link without the traffic going in this link and out this link, which happens all the time and people don't know? Now I need a database. What kind do I use? If I need to go multi-cloud, can I use DynamoDB? No. Can I use something like an Amazon Aurora for a relational database? No, because it's multi-cloud. I got to know not to use those things. And then I got to look at it and say, wait, for my database, is it more write traffic or is it more read traffic? And as an architect, I need to know that if I need a NoSQL database across 3 clouds, and I've got mostly write traffic, that I'm probably going to use Apache Cassandra. Versus if it's more read traffic, I'm going to use MongoDB. Now, what kind of connectivity do I need between my 3 clouds? Do I firewall them off, et cetera, et cetera? Do I need 1 content delivery network or 2? Usually 2. How do I architect my DNS? If I use AWS Route 53, for example, and AWS goes down, all my systems go down, so I can't use that in a multi-cloud environment. But if I put these F5 DNS servers in my data center in 2 clouds, and I create a DNS solution and architecture that I can lose any cloud and data center, my DNS still works, then I'm good. So that's really the part of this. So we have to figure all this out. Now, what I just told you, Chris Nike, is going to take a team. There's no one-man Rambos. It's like a SEAL platoon. You need a team, not one person. And you bring together a team with all backgrounds and all specialties, et cetera, et cetera. So keep that in the back of your mind. So you should be in great, great, great position. B. Shui, in my experiments, how much do cloud engineers make entry level in the DC Metro? I've got a lot of experience with cloud engineers and salaries. I'm going to tell you right now, cloud engineers have the ability to earn about 50% of the architect. Having said all of that, for people that love to code and configure and get hands-on in tech, I think the engineering career is great. I'm also going to teach you how to double your salary in engineering right now. So I will tell you, because I've got some students that I'm working with to get them cloud engineering jobs right now. Right now, I'm dealing with $100,000 a year, $120,000 a year for an entry-level cloud engineer in New York City, which means in the DC Metro, you're dealing with about 80 to 100. Now, senior engineers on a rule are getting paid about $150,000 a year. And here's how you make more. And here's how, early in my engineering career, I doubled the salary of everybody else that I worked with. See, everybody else that I worked with was worried about certification, 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 certification. And I was worried about how to be great at my job. And I didn't know. And my manager pulled me aside about 20-some years ago. I had a manager. I was falling asleep in a meeting. It was a CISSP boot camp. Like 5,000 of us became CISSPs in a week. And I fell asleep. And my manager tapped me on the shoulder and he said, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting disciplined. And my manager pulled me aside and he said, Mike, he says, you're not like the rest of these people. And I'm like, okay. He says, when everybody else comes to the office and complains about everything, you go to the customer site, you take your customer out, you buy them dinners and drinks, you know your customer, you entertain your client. He said, customers love you. And he said, the impact you're making to the customer is already greater than the engineers. And he said, wouldn't you like to know the difference between a $150,000 engineer and a $300,000 distinguished engineer or an enterprise architect? And I said, tell me. He says, don't waste your time with any more certifications. This is 20 years ago. He said, what you need to do is increase the impact that you make to your customers. And I said, how do we do that? And he says, it's your communication skills. He said, yours are good, which is why I'm talking to you, but I need them better. He said, I don't feel that you're an executive. You need executive presence. When you walk in the room, you're not commanding and you need it. He said, Mike, he says, you got some business acumen, but you're not relevant to the CEO yet. And to get to these high-paying engineering or architecture jobs, I need to be able to put you in front of the CEO. So I need you to have CEO relevancy, and I need you to know what to say to the CEO versus the CFO versus the CIO versus the chief marketing officer, et cetera, et cetera. He said, then, right now you're a sales engineer. You're not making it into these negotiations. But if you were a senior architect, you would be. And I need you to learn how to negotiate. He said, then, Mike, I need you to write white papers to help sell the company's products and influence the market. I said, okay. He said, I need you presenting at conferences constantly. I said, okay. He said, I need you to be able to develop an ROI model to show the customer that the value of the solution is greater than its cost. Guess what? 20 years ago, poof, $120,000 raise literally in 6 months later. And that's the point. That's the point. Entry-level cloud engineers, it depends on how good you are and how much they like you. The more they like you, the more you'll be paid. My engineers all get executive training too. And some of them want it and some of them don't. But here's the thing. And why is it so important to be likable? If I told you right now that for all these jobs, 50% of what we hiring managers care about on the interview is your technical ability. 50%, which is important, right? Here's the rest of it. 50% is not. 50% is related to your attitude, your energy, enthusiasm, your trustworthiness, your leadership skills, your communication ability. So when it comes to getting a really good job, your first entry-level job, can I make anybody as good as somebody that's been working for 50 years? I cannot. But can I get you good enough that you've got the right skills to get hired every day of the week I do it? But here's what I can do. I can get you to 40 out of 50 on the technical competency. And I can get you to 50 out of 50 on the leadership skills, soft skills, executive presence, communication skills, attitude, energy by teaching what hiring managers want. Now, when you interview, that averages out to 90 out of 100. I've done 5,000 interviews prior to the 1,000 AWS certified people I interviewed, which couldn't get hired, but that's neither here nor there. Getting people to pass above the 60th percentile is rare. Getting people past the 75th percentile, I hire them. Walking in as an 80 or a 90, you get hired so fast. So keep that in the back of your mind. It's all dependent upon you and your background. Everybody give me a hashtag cloud hired in the chat box so that I know you're here, and give me a like, comment, and subscribe. Beta UI. You said certificate is the name of the service and how to configure it. What about architect certifications? The AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate and Professional. Here's S3. Here's how to configure it. Here's EBS. Here's how to configure it. Here's how you configure WAF. That's the certification. All tenure level systems administration. There is no such thing as an architect certification other than TOGAF. And here's the problem with that. The customers don't even know what it means. I'd like that TOGAF certification. I think that's an architect certification. It's the only one. They're not teaching you how to configure stuff. They're not teaching you, hey, call this stupid name. They're teaching you what is the tech, how to put the pieces together. The only problem is it's so theoretical in nature that when I've used TOGAF designs and I present them to the customer, they laugh me out of the room. And I had a lot of friends that were really good TOGAF enterprise and architects, and they are amazing architects. And they put their architecture in this beautiful framework. They present it to the customer, and the customer says, what's that? And usually I'm with them when they do it, because I'm part of an architecture team, and they look at me and they say, Mike, could you translate this to me? And I say, yes. What they're really saying here is they want this, this, and this. There is no architect certification. Now, there is a Cisco certified design expert, which is an architect certification. But I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to cost you 100,000 pages of reading, a good 1,500 hours of studying for it, minimum, and probably cost you $30,000 to $40,000 for the technology and the training to do it. That's an architect certification. By the way, you don't need it. You need the knowledge, not the certification. But I truly wish in my heart there was an architect certification. People ask me to build one every day. Companies ask me to build an architect certification, and here's the reason I keep saying no. The architect is going to need executive presence, communication skills, leadership skills, sales skills, business acumen. How do we test that on a certification? I can't. No, if I made it and I interview people and ask them to present, then I could do it. But that will become a multi-$1,000 exam to pass, like the CCIE or the CISSP. But, it's really about having the skills. That's what it takes. That's how you get cloud hired. Be the best. Train for your job and not somebody else's. Stop worrying about certificates. Let the competition get certification. Good. Let them do it. You learn your job. And when it comes down to it and they interview the multi-certified people, in fact, Alonzo and I are going to make a video on this. I'm going to have Alonzo from my team. Alonzo's like my brother. We're really close. He's going to interview me, and I'm going to be two people. On interview one, I'm going to be the highly certified guy that I've interviewed 1,000 of. Interview two, I'm going to be a real cloud architect, and you're going to see the difference. And then you'll see why hiring managers don't care about your certifications. In fact, every hiring manager I talk about, even recruiters, when I talk to the recruiters, they're like, Mike, I don't want a paper certification. I don't care about that. I want somebody to know. And they call me and they say, Mike, I want your people. I'm tired of all these people with all these certifications. I put them in an interview. They go to the hiring manager. They embarrass me so badly. I'm going to not even be able to place people in cloud jobs because I get all these certified people, but they know nothing. Then I send them to the customer hiring manager, and they look at me like I'm an idiot. So give me some good people. I do, and they get hired. So make sure you know how to design, present, and sell. Please give me some questions in the chat box. But while we're at it in the chat box, give me architects design, present, and sell. Write it down in the chat box. Cloud architects design, present, and sell. I want you to know the job. Ask us some questions and put in the chat box so I know that you know it. Cloud architects design, present, and sell. And then every time you want to think about some course that some certification provider wants to ask you, I want you to see, is it teaching you how to design, present, and sell? And if it is not your job. And it's like an airplane pilot going to law school. It's not going to help you. And I want you all hired. And I want you paid double this one. So cloud architects design, presents, and sells. So what constitutes the design term? We actually went through that about 2 minutes ago. But great question. Could you clarify the differences between a cloud architect, solution architect, DevOps engineer? Absolutely. And that is a great thing. A cloud architect like me is really what you want to be. And this is what we teach. A cloud architect designs an end-to-end solution to solve a customer's problem. Which means I meet with the customer, I find out what they need, and I say, you have a current data center right now. Let's turn your current data center into an OpenStack cloud or a Nutanix cloud. We can leverage all the money you spent on this technology. We can give you better performance locally than the cloud can do. And with this, we can do auto-scaling up and down, give you the agility, speed, performance, and time to market in your data center right now. Now, I believe we should connect your data center to AWS and Azure. And that way, we can put half of our eggs in two different baskets. So you will have your data center and two clouds. By doing this, you'll have a cheaper system because you don't pay for the compute power in your data center. And you'll have better bargaining power by negotiating with your cloud providers. And if AWS dies, you don't care. If AWS up and Azure dies, you don't care because you've got triple redundancy. That's a cloud architect. That's the highest paid person there because we're a solution provider across everything. Now, Chris Nike, I'm going to tell you right now, 87% of customers use more than one cloud. So you need to be a cloud architect for these jobs. Here's what a solution architect is. I only know AWS, and I can only sell you AWS stuff. Now, here's the reality. 87% of customers use more than one cloud. So the only place that you're really going to be a solution architect is AWS. And they're going to be trying to convince customers not to use multiple clouds. And the customers want multiple clouds. 87% of customers use multiple clouds. And the last time I checked, 97% of customers want 2 or more clouds by the end of the year. So the solution architect role is dead unless you want to work only for AWS, only for Azure, only for Cisco, etc. They hire solution architects. Everybody else hires cloud architects. Now, a good cloud architect like one of my students could take a job at AWS, and they do it all the time. The job of the cloud architect and solution architect is the same, design, present, and sell. The only difference is the cloud architect uses more than one cloud. The solution architect only knows one cloud. So a cloud architect can become a solution architect any day of the week. But a solution architect, if they only know one cloud provider and haven't learned that cloud, but they learned a cloud provider, which is normally what happens, they need special training to learn to become a cloud architect. To become a cloud architect, and you learn it all. Now, what does a cloud engineer do? Great question, Chris Nike. So here's the way it works. I am a cloud architect. I meet with the customers. I ask them questions. I take them to lunch, buy them dinners and drinks on the company credit card, entertain my clients, etc., etc., etc. Come up with a design, help sell it, negotiate it, etc. Now we've got to build. Now my company says, we need this. The customer bought the architecture. They like the blueprints. Now it's time to hire the construction crew. And that is your cloud engineer. Your cloud engineer builds the things that I design. So your DevOps engineers could, but I'll tell you the difference. The cloud engineers will do the coding. They'll be writing Python scripts. They'll be setting up the virtual machine, setting up the storage, setting up the databases. They're hands-on technical people. Architects design, present, and sell. We don't touch the tech. So we design it, goes to the cloud engineer. So the cloud engineer is a systems builder. They are some of the smartest people on our team. They are the deep techies. Cloud engineer, therefore, needs to be hands-on with Linux and have excellent Linux administration skills. Why? Because they're going to be working with virtual machines or servers that are going to be 90+% Linux. The cloud engineer needs to be able to write a Python script to automate, a bash shell script to automate. So the cloud engineer needs to know Python. Cloud architect is not a valid skill, but for the cloud engineer, it's a critical skill. Now, you can deploy stuff, click, 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 click in the management console or the CLI, or you could do some infrastructure as code like Terraform. That cloud engineers do. Now, things like CloudFormation, they're dead. Don't waste your time learning it. Here's the reason. Everybody's going multi-cloud, and CloudFormation is an AWS proprietary nonsense. You want something that'll deploy your systems in AWS, Google, Azure, and OpenStack all at the same time. So you need to learn Terraform for the cloud engineer job. The cloud engineer is mostly the builder of these systems. So they're the configurer coder behind the computer all day long. They are deeply smart. They know how to tune, optimize. They're not like a cloud admin, which just knows the name of the service and how to configure it. Cloud engineers are deep technology professionals. They know how to tune it. We've got to improve the tuning performance of the storage by doing this. They are really smart, deep, highly educated people. That's why certifications won't get anybody a cloud engineer job either. They will get a cloud admin job, but we don't need cloud admins anymore anyway, and I can explain to you when we're down this. Here's what a DevOps engineer does. A DevOps engineer needs to be a previous software developer or engineer. This is a software engineering role. You take a program that's got good development systems, and what do DevOps engineers do? They automate. They use tools to automate the software delivery process. So automating software delivery. They use tools like Jenkins and Spinnaker and Git and all these other things that we architects don't even know what they are, but et cetera, et cetera. So we do, but that's the point. We don't touch it. So there's that. So they also do a lot of work with Kubernetes, lots of coding of these microservices, lots of this. Cloud DevOps engineers do infrastructure as code all day long. These are your Terraform kings and queens, et cetera, et cetera. So they're your Terraform kings and queens. Really deeply smart engineers, automation engineers, experts at automation. Why do the companies love a DevOps engineer? Here's the reason. We used to need cloud admins. Like, let's say we needed 30 people to configure stuff all day long. One DevOps engineer can replace them instantly with infrastructure as code on Terraform. So let's talk about the last job, which is the cloud admin. Name of a service and configure it. I design it, cloud engineer tunes it. Here, configure this. And that's all a cloud admin does. Configure, 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 configure. There you go, eCrest Nike. They're the spectrum of the jobs. The spectrum of the job. Cloud 22, I remember you told me, you said that doing an MBA is great for cloud architects. It is excellent for it. So should I go ahead and do that for the next 2 years? Well, I'd become an architect first. I'd collect architect pay, and then I would let my company pay for my MBA like I did. But yeah, I would do an MBA, and I sure did. Chris from my team has one. Alonzo from my team, another great cloud architect, has one. But I would get hired first and let the company pay for it if you can. That way, the MBA doesn't cost you things, and the MBA will make you better. But you can get the job without it. Like I said, we had Daniel who got a job without even finishing high school. And AWS hired Romanik Ivan Tambo long before he graduated college because he was so awesome. Cameroonian gentleman came to me with the best attitude. I remember seeing him in the first class. Hi, Mike, I'm here. I saw him on Zoom, and I saw that energy, enthusiasm, passion. He was wearing a red sweatshirt, which had his university's name because he was in school. He was working as a waiter. And when I saw that energy, enthusiasm, passion, I went, he's getting hired fast. He was like 22 years old, still in college. But when I saw that, I looked in his eyes and I was so excited. I remember telling my team, he's a winner. He's getting hired. He interviewed with AWS about 6 months ago. They loved him. They hired him. And he says, I'm supposed to graduate in college in May. Would you wait for me? They waited 6 months for him to start, even though they offered him the job 6 months previously, because he asked him he wanted to finish college. So the point is as Mark Twain said, don't let your education get in the way of your training. Get the job and then do this. I did it that way, and I know it'll help you. But the MBA is one of my favorite things for cloud architects to do. "22 Scarlet Rose. What is the fastest someone with no experience has gone from day one to the prog room? What is the record fastest?" Well, there were two people. I had a Richard Ofukar who came to me and within 3 weeks was hired by AWS as a technical account manager. And I had Delroy Bat, who you're all going to meet on next Tuesday. I love Delroy. He's a close friend. Came to Florida. We spent some time together recently. He's phenomenal. He was hired within 3 weeks. No, he didn't get hired for the job he came to me for, but we got him a very high-paying job within 3 weeks. Now, here's what happened. He had been on 20 security interviews prior to meeting with us, and nobody cared. And with us, here's what ultimately happened. In 3 weeks, he got 3 job offers in security based upon the interview tactics, techniques, etc. we had taught him in the program. And now within a year, he's working as a cloud security architect at a major global reseller. So he did good. So he had no experience. Coyote, who got hired by AWS, he was hired in about 3 months by AWS with 0 experience. Ivan Tamba, took him about 6 months in our program, which is pretty normal with no experience. I had a psychologist yesterday that just got hired in my program with clearly no technical background. I'd say it took her about 8 months. I like to say it's normally about 8 to 10 months. But having said that, I've had 2 people get through with 0 experience that were hired by AWS or other great companies within 3 weeks. You're so welcome, PD Manic. Like Chris, I can see the chat box, but I don't know what to do with their last message. 22 Scarlet Rose. How successful can women be in this field? More than men. And here's the reason why. See, right now, we hiring managers are being told, hire women, hire women, hire women. And we want to hire them. It's really hard. We want to hire them. But here's our challenge. So the news media will make it look like it's harder for women to be hired. It is not. Here's the challenge. So I've got my program, and there's roughly 8 to 10% of my program is women. I would love more of them in there. In fact, 2 of the people on my team are women, and they're some of the greatest technology professionals. 3 of our people are women out of our 7 people. So that's 50%. Now, here's what I need people to understand. When you go into an engineering program at a university, you see 8 to 15% women. What do you see working in tech? 8 to 15% women. Why? Because that's the talent pool we have to choose from. In my program, I'm going to tell you right now, it's 8 to 10% women. Who are the people that are going to be hired? 8 to 10%, because that's the statistical population I have. Now, in many cases, that's not true. But as a rule, we can't hire people that don't have the training. So if you had medical school that had 80% women and 20% men, do you know what your doctors are going to be? 80% women and 20% men. But so it really goes back to the following. It's really who is in your program. So anybody can do well. It depends on where you're coming from. So you can do really well. I've got recruiters that scream to me every day, do you know anybody that's great? And what holds us back? Ourselves hold us back. Nobody holds us back unto ourselves. If you are strong, capable, and you work hard, and you show the world that you're open to work and you want to work, you will do phenomenally well. So your gender has nothing to do with it. Your background has nothing to do with where you succeed. What has to do is your attitude, energy, enthusiasm, passion, thirst for knowledge. Were you willing to go above and beyond? What do employers care about? I'm going to tell you this right now. They care about the following: your technical competency, whether they can trust you, whether you're energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate about the technology. Do you know what you know and don't know what you don't know? Do you have good leadership skills? Are you a team player and are you willing to go above and beyond? That's what you need to do. Do that and you will be thrilled. And anybody in the world would be thrilled to hire you, regardless of who you are or what you are. There's a critical shortage of capable people. And we need teams that have people from all over the world, from all different backgrounds. We must have them to be successful. And good companies know this. Imagine if everybody went to the same college and was in the same class and lived in the same city. Just imagine that for a second. And now you got a problem that comes in, and it takes a lot of people on a team. What do you have if everybody went to the same college, lived in the same city, and studied the same thing? Effectively, a one-person team. Now, by comparison, I have somebody that came from medical world. I have somebody that came from psychology. I have somebody that came from where I'm from, Greece. I have somebody that came from Panama. I have somebody that came from India. I have some wonderful person from Cameroon. I have somebody from New Zealand. And they all went to different universities and learned similar things, but they're different. Now I got a problem, and here's the problem. Now I can leverage my whole team who all thinks differently, and together we can collaborate on a solution. So we need a bigger team. We need a more diverse team, and we all know it, and we all want it. So you'll do great. How is the Cloud Architect program like? Exactly like working as a cloud architect. I train people the way that we work. So we have 3 live classes per week. And in these live classes, 2 out of 3, we design architectures. 2 out of 3 together. Just like the real world. And students present the architectures back. They have to sell it just like the real world. And 1 time per week, we do difficult conversations. We sell stuff. We lead stuff, because that's the other part of our job. Now, there is a tremendous number of videos to watch, but it's not PowerPoint slides with audio. They're real videos. And what will happen is you'll do something, and you will turn in an assignment. and our team will grade it and give you feedback for it, etc., etc., etc. So we'll be doing that. We'll be graded and giving feedback on it, on everything we do. So that's part of it. And perhaps, you'll be practicing your interview techniques. You'll record a video, we'll give it to you. You'll practice a sales presentation, you'll do it. You'll be doing architectures, which you'll be turning in for feedback. You'll be designing and building your own clouds from scratch in our data center. You'll be working with Active Directory. You'll be working with the technology. So what's it going to be like? Exactly like you had the real job. So I've studied martial arts my entire life. I studied Taekwondo, Shotokan, Kempo, Jiu-Jitsu. Spent a lot of time with it. And then I learned Israeli martial arts, which are really this. We train the way we fight. And I remember sparring with an Israeli martial artist. We did slow fighting with some kind of sparring. And in about 3 seconds, I was done. And I was doing all my fancy things. And he did a strike to the throat, a temporary eye gouge, which he showed me, and a groin kick, which didn't hurt that bad because of the protection we were wearing. And I went, oh my God, all this fluff that I learned was all good. But I just got beaten by somebody with 1 year's experience and I have 10 or 15. And then I learned to train that way. Then I took all my old background and leveraged all my old experiences, which were still valid, with new technology and new tactics. Woof! 6 months later, I was a world-class martial artist. So we train the way we work. So you'll come to classes, you'll be designing, presenting, and selling. You'll be writing documents. You'll be writing architecture, pictures, and documents. You'll be negotiating things with people. You'll be practicing your interview tactics so you get hired. You'll be practicing on building how to build the perfect resume and LinkedIn profile. You will do everything you need. 3 live classes per week. In between live classes, there's videos, and you turn in your assignments via Slack, and we give you feedback on them. And then there's labs. Now, here's the reality. As architects, we never touch the technology, ever. My architects get hired all the time. And when my architects get hired all the time, which I love, work, and they call me back after a year. They're like, Mike, I'm credit card girl. I'm like, what do you mean? She says, all I do, I entertain clients, I buy dinners and drinks, I do presentations, write architecture. Am I ever going to touch the tech? And I say, no. And then another buddy says, hey, Mike, I've been lots of presentations, written lots of statements of work, responded to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, did lots of negotiations, write papers. Am I ever going to touch the tech? And I say, no. But architects don't touch the tech. So we will teach you to do all those skills. 3 live classes per week on Zoom where you can ask questions. In between classes, there's projects, assignments, etc. And then there's our labs. We will have you do 25 AWS labs, even though I don't touch the tech. We will also have you do about 20 to 25 Azure labs. And here's the reason why. If anybody asks you if you've done it, you can say, yes, I have. And then we will give you real labs that'll get you hired, where you'll set up and work with server virtualization containers and container orchestration. You'll build firewalls and VPN concentrators because we're going to need this stuff because we're not going to be using WAF in our reality life. You'll be building file servers across Windows and Linux. You'll be building Active Directory servers, and you will design and build your own cloud from scratch. And then when you go in an interview and they're like, what's the cloud? You can describe it because you built one. You know what it is at the essential level. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. That's what it's like. My students tell me they're happy. I've got some students in the chat box. Students that are there, like Mr. Businessman, if you're there, or Leo, who used to be a student of mine. Alonzo was a student of mine, but he was so awesome I had to hire him. I mean, Charlie used to be a student of mine, but she was so awesome I had to hire her. I love to hire my students. Here's the reason why. I train the world's greatest cloud architects, and I get hired all the time. Why don't I hire my own? I like to sip my own champagne, in, meaning I create the world's greatest cloud architects, and if they want to work for me, I'm thrilled. Robert Welch is another great one of my students. He's fantastic. Alonzo, design, present, and sell. Yes, exactly. Make sure you join me tomorrow for the How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar, because we will give you a 1-hour presentation telling you the exact steps. And then we'll have a party time. You can ask questions. I'll answer them as long as I can. And guess what? Alonzo will answer them if I can't answer anymore, and it will be great, great, great fun. Give us a like if you haven't, please. Subscribe and hit the bell if you haven't to be informed of new things. Because this afternoon, guess what we're going to be doing? Subnetting. And tomorrow we're going to be doing BGP. And the world comes to me for BGP. I've been dealing with it forever. Just this morning, we had another article published in Hacker Noon on BGP hijacking. The world comes to us for BGP, so we want to teach it to you. Abdul, hello, Mike. You probably answered my question before. Is there an opportunity for cloud security architect? What is the path training and certs? Well, I train cloud security architects in my cloud architect career development program too. And Delroy, who you'll meet next week, is going to be hired as a cloud security architect. He's about 25 years old now, really nice guy. We got him his first job last year, and this is his job currently right now. Here's the path. It's the same thing. So what does a cloud security architect do, which is any different than a cloud architect? So normally a cloud architect designs the end-to-end solution. So me as a cloud architect, I go meet with my client, I ask them their business requirements, technical requirements, et cetera, and I say, okay, we need to build this. And then when I'm done, I call a cloud security architect, a cloud network architect, a cloud IAM architect, et cetera. I build a team and I design it. The cloud security architect focuses on designing security, meaning they focus on the security policy. They may use silly frameworks, which do nothing, but sometimes we use a NIST framework, et cetera, et cetera. The cloud security architect determines where the firewalls need to be. What kind of virtual firewalls? What kind of next generation firewalls are we using? The cloud security architect focuses on making sure the people are trained. They don't do the training, but they hire the people. Protection against anti-phishing, anti-social engineering kind of things. The cloud security architect focuses on may touch the type of identity access management systems, or that may go to an IAM architect, for example, to be used in the organization. The cloud security architect determines, okay, where do you place your packet filters, et cetera, et cetera. The cloud security architect will help determine what you need to do to your hosts to secure them. Do you need to disable services, patch them, anti-malware kind of endpoint protection, et cetera, et cetera. What kind of patching strategy should the organization do? What kind of encryption needs to be used? Do we encrypt the WAN, LAN, et cetera? So that's the kind of stuff that they do. So what's the path? Well, it's still a design, present, and sell job. So you still need to learn the CXO relevancy, the sales skills, the executive presence, communication skills, ROI modeling ability, executive presence, et cetera. So all those same architect skills you need to learn for these jobs. But you still need to learn the cloud, the same way we teach it, just like a cloud architect, but you need much more knowledge. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, in our cloud architect career development program, everybody gets cloud security architect knowledge. And here's the reason why. I'm a network architect, right? Network architect, we all became cloud architects because it's the same thing. I also have a heavy, heavy security background. So again, nobody's going to hire you because you pass a certification. They're going to hire you because of your capabilities to design, present, and sell. Now, I will tell you, the perfect security resume is going to be as follows. One of the 3 cloud certifications, either the Google Professional Cloud Architect, the Azure Solution Architect Expert, or the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. I don't care which one you do. Do not, under any circumstances, waste your time on something simple like an AWS Advanced Security. That's not even an intro to 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 a junior level security certification. Now, what should you get? The CISSP is our preferred certification for the following reason. It's an architecture certification for the most part. They don't teach you how to touch any technology in the CISSP, but they do talk about where do you place your firewalls, writing a security policy, and the elements that go into security. So what you're really dealing with in certification-wise is one professional cloud cert and a CISSP. The CISSP is exactly what it's supposed to be, a mile wide and an inch deep, because we are not security engineers. We also need to be aware of the tools that hackers use. I mean, we're not going to be using Nmap in our, well, actually we might be we'll have some engineers come in and use Nmap to map things out. Sniffers will have engineers come and look at sniffers. Our engineers, our cloud security engineers are going to be on Kali Linux, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those kind of things. So Kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Those are the things. So design, present, and sell. Design, present, and sell. Design, present, and sell. But data integrity losses, all that kind of stuff is going to be your focus. So it's really about learning all the security things that are out there. Because with every architecture, it's going to be this. I need security. And you're going to call Cisco, and you'll call Checkpoint if you can. Some countries you can't call Checkpoint, but it's a good product. You'll call Fortinet. You'll call Palo Alto. Heck, you might call Zscaler, all some great security players. And you'll be working with them to design their solution to see what they can do. So lots and lots and lots of design, but it's all security. So the path is the same thing. Instead of focusing on just the network and the data center, which the cloud architect would do, understand a little of the network and the data center, like 50% of it, and make sure you've got an extreme knowledge on security. Firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, authentication systems, encryption strategies, policy writing, training, and you'll get this cloud security architect job. They are fantastic jobs, and I've got students getting them all the time. In fact, Del Rabat, you'll meet him next week. He's going to tell you how he got his first cloud security architect in our cloud architect career development program. We're real proud of him because he's 25 years old. And he has 1 year tech experience, and we got him his first tech job. And you'll love him when you hear from him. He's going to be on next Tuesday. You'll love him. Mr. Businessman, what career options come after an enterprise architect role? I've got friends, Mr. Businessman, that became CTOs. I became a CEO. I've got friends that become CIOs. So really, these roles are there. I've seen people become VPs and EVPs and SVPs, because here's the thing. The enterprise architect role is 80% executive, 20% tech. And in the enterprise architect role, you're already talking to the CEO, the CFO, the CIO, CTO. You're constantly speaking with the executives. And you're working with those executives to get those business needs, and you're translating those business needs to the engineers and the architects that are going to help you design it. And they're going to be the more technical people, especially engineers. So that's the thing. So as a rule, any executive leadership position you want. Now, Mr. Businessman, what does that take? That takes executive presence, communication skills, sales skills, leadership skills, negotiation skills, CX relevancy, business acumen, ROI modeling, etc., etc. They're the skills that get you to the CEO, the CIO, the SVP, the EVP, the CTO, etc. That's why architects often do so well. And that's why architects struggle in their careers, because they confuse engineering careers with these skills. Look, nobody wants me to touch the technology. And here's the reason why. I can get $350,000 enterprise architect job by the end of the day if I called some people. Heck, I can get a $500,000 job with about 3 to 6 months preparation with the right recruiters, etc. that I know. Now, if you're going to pay me $350,000 a year to be an enterprise architect, that's expensive. $100 an hour is $200,000 a year. $200 an hour is $400,000. Now, a $350,000 enterprise architect job is nothing to go. Now, you're also going to get about $50,000 of benefits. So now you're dealing effectively with the cost of $200 per hour. So now I'm a company, and the company charges $200 an hour employee. Do you want me coding something? No. Or do you want to hire a coder in America for $120,000 a year? Or do you want to hire a developer in some other part of the world for $30,000 a year? So that's why, as an enterprise architect, to get to these high roles, they don't want us touching the tech. There are much lower cost resources to do it. They need you for the following: your ability to drive transformation. That's it. Make the business better. So think about it this way, Mr. Businessman. You're an enterprise architect working for a bank. You've spoken to the CIO, the CTO, the CFO, etc., etc. You help them design a new trading system. That trading system adds $6 billion of increased profitability. Wait, this guy just generated $6 billion of extra profitability through his business acumen and tech acumen. That's my next chief information officer. So you see where we're coming from. That's why I'm talking about training for the right skills, the high value skills, the skills that take you from here to here, not the skills that take you from here to here. I focus on the big targets, the big ones. I focus on the things that really are going to conquer your dreams. So those are the places you can go. I took it to become a CEO. I've taken it to industry business solutions groups, etc. I was going to join a really, really great cloud company about 2 years ago. I loved them very much. I had a very senior position offered to me in that executive leadership realm, and then I got pulled due to COVID. It was a business strategist for healthcare, etc. But it's okay. That's part of life. But I still had the offer. It just got rescinded. So, like I said, every interview you can get a job if you master the right skills for the job. Betty, you are. Thank you for your time. You worked at an electronics store and didn't like resale sales. I wouldn't like retail sales either. It's very different than the enterprise level. And here's the thing. Here's retail sales. You sell something to a customer. They spend 8 hours in your store for a $30 thing or a $300 thing, and they go online to Amazon and buy it. That's retail sales. Consumer takes it home, you get a commission, and they return it, and you lose your commission. That's retail sales. That is nothing compared to what we do. We are doing executive sales. We're taking clients to lunch and dinner, playing golf with them, or taking them wherever. We're building a business case. The reason we need to talk to the CEO. Hi, Mr. CEO, it's on sale for 30%. Mike, you're fired. I mean, seriously, that's about how fast it would be. Now, if I had this conversation with the CEO and said, look, we've analyzed your business requirements. We've analyzed your technical requirements. I brought in a team of 50 of the best engineers and architects I know to work on this proposal that we've given to you. We believe with an 85% certainty that we can add $3 billion of sales by re-architecting your website. We additionally believe that we can improve your employee productivity by 3% by doing this, which will save you on an average annually per year another $2 billion. Now, the technology to do this is going to cost you $1.2 billion, but we believe, based upon our experience with other customers in similar industries, that $1.2 billion architecture will generate $5 billion of business value. With your weighted average cost of capital being at 3%, we believe that this would be cheapest in your data center with an Nutanix cloud or an OpenStack cloud based upon your current load. But we also believe that you need backup to that, and we'd also like to see a cloud burst, either AWS or Azure or both. Here is a document that I wrote for you for the executives. Here's something I wrote for your management team, and here's something for your engineers. Could we come back and discuss these documents in 2 weeks? That's this kind of sales. Car sales, imagine how good you're going to feel in the seat. Can't say that to a CEO. I can say, here's how we can impact your business. What's a CEO care about? Increasing shareholder value. What does that mean? Increasing revenue, cutting expenses, employing productivity, finding new sources of revenue, et cetera, et cetera. So no, it's completely different. I would die trying to sell consumer products. But it's a good question. Chris Nike. Now to some meat questions. The curriculum of the cloud architect, could you give some information on the skills tech required, especially for those who may not be on better pay? I've done it before, Chris Nike, and I'll do it again. You need to know BGP, OSPF minimum. You need to know IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting. Better yet, Chris Nike, because there's a bunch of questions, come to the webinar tomorrow, and I will tell you everything that you need to know. But I'm going to tell you, even if you try to do it on your own, it's going to be more expensive than my program. But come to the webinar tomorrow, and I will give you a list. And tomorrow on that webinar, here's what you can do. Come off mute, and we can have a live conversation. So I'd rather you come to my webinar tomorrow if you can. Deepa Alice, you teach the AWS on YouTube for Solution Architect. Is the content relevant for the professional? Absolutely. So we don't run any kind of basic, normal, certified solution architect associate or professional course. What we do is we teach an AWS course that you need to know. We will start at the basic beginning, and we will ramp out to almost the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. I'm going to also tell you this. People that have the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional that don't know AWS at all take mess, and they're like, oh my God, you cleared it up. I can't believe I bought this course bundle and took all these silly courses, didn't understand any of it, and now I do. So we will go way past the AWS Certified Solution Architect, and it will be simple, simple, simple for you to understand. Why is it going to be so simple? Here's the reason. If you don't know something, which is the majority of the certification providers, because they've never worked in these jobs, they have no background, past the certification that they're teaching, what you hear is the old Charlie Brown, blah, 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 blah. Here's some pretty PowerPoint slides, blah, 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 blah. Here's my cat, blah, 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 blah. That's what you hear. Like Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't know the material well enough. And these cloud concepts are so simple compared to what we have to do to make it in the network and the data center that when you leave this class in this week, you will know how the systems work. It will be clear to you. So yes, very relevant for the professional. And even more relevant for your job interviews, which is the whole goal, which is getting you hired. In summary, Cloud Architect creates the blueprint, exactly, presents it and sells it to the customers for others to build. Exactly, exactly, exactly. Just like a building architect. We design, present, and sell. If you, Mike, you stated yesterday that a job post is typically a company's wish list. Yes. Would I elaborate that on further? What do you mean by don't take the required list literally? Okay, I need you to all to understand this. An HR job description is a joke. It's a joke. I have never had more than 10 to 15% of the skills in a job description. Here's what happens. The average company gets 5,000 applications for a single job. Companies like AWS have 25,000 open jobs. And it is impossible to interview all these people. So what happened is a company makes this HR job description, and the hiring manager says, I need this. Hiring managers generally don't know how to write a job description. It goes to HR, and here's what HR does. They cut and paste somebody's job description, and then they add their own. I did it once. You should have seen it. It was the most brilliant, beautiful 40-page job description you ever seen. I went to DICE, and I saw this like 10-page job description. I went, wow, that looks comprehensive. Hey, wait, nothing in this list is what I needed. So I put required skills and exactly what I needed, put it up there. Here's what happened. HR sent me bozo after bozo after bozo. And here's the reason I say bozo. The people they sent me knew everything but what I needed them to do. Everything other than that. And here's the reason why. HR has no ability to judge your technical competency whatsoever. I'll even give you a personal example. One time, I interviewed with a networking company. And it was the only time I had did an HR interview first. And they gave me a screener interview. And on the screener interview, they had a list of questions. They asked the first question, I answered the second question. There was 10 questions. On the 10th question, they asked me, what's the multicast address of an OSPF hello? Or no, they didn't say hello. They said, what's the multicast address for OSPF? And I said, which address are you looking for? Are you looking for the hello address, meaning all SPF routers, or are you looking for all DR other routers? And she says, no, I just need one address. There's only one address. And I said, no, there's two addresses. I said, we use 224.0.0.6 for all SPF routers. And we use 224.0.0.5 for all SPF routers and 224.0.0.6 for all DR all designated routers. I said, so which one are you looking for? The woman says, I just need one. And I heard in her office this instant messaging application beep. And I said, do you have any distinguished engineers on your team? And she said, yes. I said, I'm telling you right now that this question is wrong. If you would do me the small favor, could you just message this distinguished engineer and ask him which one he needs, the person that wrote this question, the standard, all SPF routers, or all DR other routers? With a little hesitancy, she did it. She starts laughing hysterically. And she says, I'm told I have to hire you immediately. I'm also told that they can't believe that no one ever asked this question before, that you're the first person that actually knew OSPF well enough to ask this question. We have to hire you. I'm told not to even interview you anymore. You're that good. And I said, thank you so much. And I took a job at Cisco instead. It was a great company. It really was. But I went to Cisco instead because HR doesn't know anything about how to tech you. So if you didn't know how to verify someone's competency, what would you do? You'd put a list of industry buzzwords. I would like 3 Olympic gold medals, 50 years experience in something that didn't even exist 50 years ago. I'd like this, 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 and this. And then here's what happens. These people make it past HR. If they look good on paper, about looking good on paper, they interview us. We interview them. Tell me about your architecture background. I can code. Okay, well, we don't architects don't code. How would you load share across 2 equal cost paths? I'm certified in AWS Advanced Networking. No, I'd like to know how you do it. But I'm certified. And then we say, okay, let's talk about block storage. I know what it is, it's EBS. And I said, no. What it is, how do it work? How's the performance of block storage? On my certification exam, they said it's fast, fast, fast. And I said, what if I told you I needed 3 million ILPS? How am I going to do with that? I can do it in my data center. What? And that's what happens. So what we all do is we call our best recruiter. Now, I got to tell you right now, I like ITXL. I'm friends with their CEO, Christina Marino, but she's also placed me in like 3 of my 5 jobs. And she's placed so many of my graduates. And here's what I do. And I say, Christina, I just interviewed 50 people. They know everything other than what I need. And she says, yeah, of course. She said, they came through HR, right? And I say, yes. And she says, okay. And I say, I need someone with this skill. I need an architect that's this, and this. And she says, Mike, I gotcha. And I said, okay. Next thing she does is she calls me and she says, I've got this guy, Alonzo Coleman. And I've got this guy, Leo Paredes. And I've even got this Chow Pham, who is an amazing architect. Alonzo's got the best executive presence of the bunch. Leo is the most deeply technical architect we have. And Chow is not only technical, but you will like her more than anybody you've ever seen, I promise you. I interview him. And I say, I hire all 3 because they're so great that I have no choice. I then tell HR, pay Alonzo 1.6 times the average, pay Chow 1.5 times, pay Leo 1.3 times because this. I'm based on someone's executive presence versus communication versus their technical acumen. I'll pay more for executive presence and technical skills than every hiring manager will along the time, et cetera, et cetera. Then HR brings the package, and then they all work for me. Now, about a year from now, Alonzo's going to be promoted, Chow's going to be promoted, and Leo's going to be promoted. And 1 or 2 of them is going to get auto-rejected by HR after the fact because they don't reach the HR requirements. The job description is the company's wish list. You want the real job description? I'll tell you how to get the actual job description. You can ask people that work in the company in that same job if you know them. You can ask industry experts like us. Or, here's the way you get the perfect job description. At the end of the hiring interview, they ask you a question. Do you have any questions for me? Now, you can destroy the interview by saying, what's the work-life balance? Now, you can win the interview by closing on the following. Mrs. Manager, could you tell me what are your goals so that I know that if I was part of your team, I could help you succeed? That signals the hiring manager that you solved the problem. But then they'll say, my goals are to do X, Y, and Z. X, Y, Z, depending on which country you're in. That is your job description, what your manager wants you to do. That's the only time you're going to get an accurate job description. Only time. That's why it's so critically important for you to know your job, master your job, and be great at your job. And that's why the job descriptions are so silly. In fact, it's so bad that CIO Magazine looked at these job descriptions and said, oh my God, this is not an architect. And it got so bad that Gartner, an organization who's really, really an expert on, technology trends, etc., and I'll read it to you. They got so upset by what was going on because they knew all these job descriptions weren't architect jobs at all and had nothing to do with architecture, that they actually started asking the chief information officers, which is your boss, by the way, what do you want in the perfect cloud architect? And someone from my team will list a link to this article, but here's what they said, and this is published in CIO Magazine, not Mike. Although I'm in articles and magazines every day talking about what cloud architects do, because everybody comes to me because we're authorities on this. Well, the chief information officers, which our boss said, I want someone that can lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, develop and coordinate a cloud architecture, and develop a cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process, tech and leadership. What do you want them to do every day? Well, find talent with the necessary skills, leadership, assess application software and hardware, tech, creating a cloud record team, leadership, building a team, establishing best practices for the cloud across the company, selecting cloud providers and vetting third-party services, overseeing governance and mitigating risk, working closely with the IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets and estimate cost, and operating at scale. That is your customer telling you exactly, here is what I want. CEO sets the strategy, chief information officer helps the CIO execute on their strategy with technology. CIO hires the VP of IT, who hires the director of IT, who hires the hiring manager, who hires you. So this is what the boss wants. Be what the boss wants, and you will be hired every single time. Assuming you have the right attitude, energy, enthusiasm, passion, communication skills, etc., etc. Casca, good morning, Mike. What advice would you give a cloud engineer as a first job with no experience? I would say master your job and not somebody else's. Don't waste your time on a bunch of silly certifications. I need you to know your job. What do you need to know as a cloud engineer? First, you need to know the network in the data center. Hey, wait, cloud? Why do we need to know the network in the data center? Because everything we deal with is network and data center technology. Everything. And you'll be dealing with customers in their data center on their cloud. So if you know what a virtual machine is, you know what an EC2 instance is, a Google Compute Engine instance, an Azure virtual machine, an Oracle virtual machine, etc. And I could go on to learn that. So for the cloud engineer, I'm going to tell you right now, you must know the network in the data center. And if you join us on the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect job webinar, I will tell you what all those technologies are. Now, a cloud engineer is not a cloud architect. So the cloud engineer is hands-on. The cloud engineer must have a good knowledge of Linux systems administration. And in our cloud engineering program, not only do we teach the network in the data center, we teach Linux administration very heavily. We hired Linux experts to help us develop this because I wanted it to be the best, coming from Linux provider. We needed to make it the best. Now, the next thing that you need to know as a cloud provider is you're going to be learning and needing to write a script, which is generally going to be in Bash or Python. So we've got training for that. You need to know Bash and Python. You also need to know a little bit about infrastructure as code and DevOps principles. And I've got a great application architect that's been teaching these things. You must know how to build, which means you need to get hands-on the clouds. Now, if you want to make it easier, and I'm going to make this very clear to you, it's your first job, you've got no experience. Candidate here, lots of experience. Candidate here is 0. So how do you make yourself competitive? You train the way that others won't, so tomorrow you can do what others can't. You build your own clouds, like my students do, and all my students in the cloud engineering program do. You set up virtual machines and containers. You build some firewalls and work with them. Build some Active Directory servers and work with them, because you will be working with Active Directory, I promise you. Build a Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP stack in a data center server, not the cloud, because it'll be harder. You got to install Linux from scratch. Build yourself a cloud. Build yourself a firewall, a VPN concentrator. Get yourself hands-on, because engineers are hands-on. Now, the secret. 50% of your interviews related to your competency, and 50% of your interviews related to, does the manager like you? What's your attitude like? What's your energy, enthusiasm, passion like? What's your communication skills like? Your emotional intelligence like? Executive presence, and your interview skills. You can be moderately good with the tech and great at that and still get hired and often paid more than the people that are better in the tech. And that's why in our Cloud Engineer Career Development Program, to get people their first cloud engineering job, we give a full leadership course, We teach people how to sell, because even as an engineer, you're going to have to sell your manager when you want a promotion. You're going to have to sell the hiring manager to hire you. We teach you how to lead. Why? Because it can really boost your salary and employability and help you get that first job. We teach you how to present. What are you going to do in an interview? Present your knowledge to get hired. So what's your biggest factor in your salary and ability to be hired? Your emotional intelligence and soft skills. We teach that too. That's how you get a competitive advantage. You become the best cloud engineer in the world. And when your competition has more experience, but you are so good, they can't help but hire you. That's what we do with our students. We put our students like an Olympian resume, Olympian training. Now, I was a strength and conditioning coach for a little while because I had to be to do my physical therapy. And prior to getting injured, I used to do CrossFit. Here's the difference. CrossFit trains you to be good at life. You run, do some push-ups, some sit-ups, a little Olympic lifting, a little power lifting, a little body weight, a little bit good at life. And you know what? For regular people, that's kind of neat. It's not my medical recommendation due to the injury rate, but I can see the point and appreciate it. How do you train a professional athlete? Sport-specific training. You train a linebacker very differently than you train a running back. And you train a hockey player differently than you train a martial artist. And you train a gymnast differently than a martial artist. So that's what we do in our program. We are laser-like focused to training people to be the best at their career. And by doing it with us or on your own, and by diffusing your energy on like a whole bunch of different things that are totally unrelated to your job, that's how you stand out, and that's how you get hired, and that's how you earn more. Cloud Master, please guide on how to tackle solution architect where interviews start asking you basic L1 questions. I don't know what basic L1 questions are instead of architect questions. But I'm going to tell you right now, if on your resume you have coding and configuring, I'm going to ask you basic intro-level questions because I don't think you know anything. And here's the reason why. That's what I'm going to see. So I'm going to interview you based upon what's on your resume. Now, Cloud Master, I had a really smart guy. He was an IIT graduate. He came to me, really great technologist. And he went on an interview after interview after interview. And people kept asking him these irrelevant questions about sysops and DevOps and all this other nonsense that wasn't architecture. And he says, Mike, what's going on? I said, what's on your resume? And he says, what do you mean? I said, I haven't seen your resume. You haven't submitted it in for approval. Do you have development on there? He says, yeah. Like, I've got some Python here. I said, yeah. I said, do you have any sysops and DevOps hacks? I said, yeah. And I said, I got this cert and this cert and this cert. I said, that's where you're getting asked basic questions. And he said, what do you mean? I said, we're going to dedicate today's class for you. And I said, unless you're willing, not willing. And he says, no, I want it. We stripped off all those irrelevant sysops, DevOps certifications, cloud practitioners, got rid of all of it. We got rid of every piece of coding that he'd done in the last 5 years and talked about the impact of what it was. So it was not coded website with Java. That's not architect. It was design new website, which improved customer sales by whatever percent that it actually did. Design this, that did this. Design this, that did this. Got rid of this, all the irrelevant skills, all the stuff that made this wonderfully smart guy look like everybody other than an architect. Got rid of the stupid certifications that didn't make him look like an architect. Within 2 weeks, he had 3 really good job offers. That's the thing. What's on your resume? What's in your brand will determine what you get asked. If on my resume I put IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, etc., that's what they're going to ask me on. If on my resume I talk about executive presence, communication skills, leadership skills, and enterprise architect skills, that's what they're going to question me on. So your resume's wrong. You probably have things that are causing people to think you of something other than what you want to be. And it's also going to be how you handle the interview questions in real time. I often give somebody a basic question. Here's the reason. If I ask someone, what's the beginning of the subnet, the broadcast address, and the usable addresses, and if I say, here's your address, 172.16.1.4 with a subnet mask of /30 or 255.255.255.252. Where does the subnet begin? Where does the subnet end? And what are my usable addresses? And they can't answer that. I can't hire them. And sometimes I start off with something super basic just to see if they know anything. Because if they can't figure that out, they can't be a solution architect. I need them to say that it begins at 172.16.1.4, .5 and .6 are usable, and .7 is the broadcast. Hey, by the way, the next subnet might begins at .8, .9 and 10 are usable, and .11 is the broadcast. And if they can't answer that in literally speaking less than 10 seconds or less, they don't know the job. So sometimes I also ask a basic question in the beginning. And here's the reason. If I ask that question and they don't know, I'm not going to pummel this person with questions. I'm going to feed them cookies so they feel like they had a good experience. And I'm going to send them home. And if they ask how I did, I'm going to say, come back when you have more experience, because they didn't have the ability to do the job. I don't care about their experience. That's why we do. Can do one more. And then please make sure you join us for the subnetting workshop this afternoon. You're working on becoming a cloud architect. Advice. Any advice on what content I read and or should listen for more information on networking and security paths? You don't know what to choose. Well, if you are in our program, we would help you guide you. But if you are not, and you want to know, here's what you know. Your knowledge will not come out of a certification course. And here's the reason why. Ever play the game Whisper Down the Lane? I have. If I tell Chris on my team, who tells Alonzo on my team, who tells Chow on my team, who tells Leo on my team, who then tells my wife on my team, who then tells me the same thing back, is it going to be the same? No. So when you want to be taught these things, you want to learn from the people that worked at these companies. I taught engineers at Cisco. Cisco trusted me to be on SCTV and teach their engineers. Granted, I was good enough to teach the Cisco engineers because they trusted me. Now, I did not just start teaching one day, take an AWS course, get hired by some academy that didn't know anything either, and then start my own company. This is my life. It's all I know. So think about this. If you want to know the details of a firewall, I like the Palo Alto firewall. Yeah, what do I know about Palo Alto? What the public information is. Want to get the good stuff? Go to Palo Alto. Don't take somebody's Palo Alto's training course. Get the information from Palo Alto. So I recommend that you go to the people that make the technology and read all of their documentation. And it's not going to be like AWS documentation, which is the name of the service and how to configure it. That's their documentation. Go to Cisco's documentation. They'll explain to you the technology, how the technology works, and then they'll focus on how to configure it. Now, the information that they will teach you in that will work on Juniper, it'll work on Extreme, it'll work on any networking, although the configuration commands will be better. The request for comments from the Internet Engineering Task Force. Yes, I read the Cisco Press book, Internet Routing Architecture from Bassam Halabi, and I'm going to tell you it's my favorite book to learn BGP. But I also read all the requests for comments. That's the actual specification. When I read that, that's when I mastered BGP. So read the specs for IPsec. Read the specs for SSL. Read the specs, the actual specification, and then you will get real knowledge. Then you'll get real knowledge. Which should you choose? What do you enjoy? Here's what networking is: plumbing. Without the network, you've got nothing. It's foundational infrastructure. It's complicated. I think it's fun, but it's the infrastructure. If you want to be the person that knows to make sure that the systems work, that's a networking person. Now, the reality is the networking people generally don't get the credit because nobody even knows what we do. But the networking is the infrastructure. The networking also has a tremendous amount of security in it. There are things that I can do in a data center that I could make a data center so much more secure than a public cloud provider like nothing. And I could do half of it on the network, which I can't do on the cloud. Now, I'm not saying for the average customer, the cloud isn't more secure than the data center, but I can do so much on the network. In fact, networking and security go hand to hand. And the more you know about networking, to some degree, the more you know about security. Not hands-on configuration, no. The more you know what does an IP packet look like, the header of the packet, etc. Because when you know that, you know how to hack into systems as well. So in either case, as a cloud architect, you're going to need a lot of knowledge on networking, and you're also going to need a lot of knowledge on security. And I'll also up and up, when my students get hired, 50% of the time they get hired by presenting our security architecture. Because when we describe our security architecture, it's like, whoa, that's going to work. And I can tell somebody that knows security versus that doesn't. Someone that doesn't know security, WAF and shield. And I say, okay. Now, when you're hacked, what do you want? And they're like, huh? And I say, you should have a content delivery network, which has some sort of DDoS protection. You need next generation firewalls. You need intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems. You need to protect subnets with access control lists. You want to protect hosts with a host-based firewall equivalent as a security group. On that server, what you need to do is basically patch it, add some anti-malware, add another host-based firewall, add a host-based IDS, IPS system, disable services. Here's what your encryption strategy needs to know. That's generic cloud architect technology. You need to know that. Now, you like that and you find that interesting? Then it's like, well, let me start learning about how to write a security policy and a security framework. That's called security architect, etc. But you need to know good networking knowledge for either one of these. Not how to configure the network. And the security architect needs to know less about BGP, but they still need to know about IP addressing and supernetting, etc. They need to know about packet filtering, authentication systems, etc. So it's hard to get networking out of everything. In fact, I'm almost going to say that networking is critical foundations for almost everything. Because think about it this way. If the network doesn't work, your cloud's down. Your data center's down. Your wide area network's down. Everything's dead. There's nothing without a network. Zero. Don't believe me? Look at what happened in Canada when Rogers had an internet outage. Even 911 service was dismayed. Now, granted, nobody would be stupid enough to put all their technology in a single company's cloud, some company's service provider, at least until recently, because we were all taught for the last 30 years. 2 is 1, 1 is none, and 3 is greater than 2. Never use a single service provider, ever. You got to win. Verizon and AT&T, Verizon and NTT, AT&T and NTT, AT&T and CenturyLink, etc., etc., etc. So keep that in the back of your mind. We never use a single provider for anything if it matters. We had 911 systems go down by people that did that. AWS went down, and we had businesses that were down everywhere. I mean, cloud providers go down and internet service providers go down. And here's the thing. Technology breaks. It breaks. We can't think it's a rarity. It's going to break. Just like your car, no matter how good you have it, is going to have to go to the mechanic from time to time. Technology breaks. The better your knowledge of all the people to do and all the ways to make it more available, resilient, etc., that's what it is. In a certification class, they teach you to put all your eggs in one basket. Not smart. In an MBA program, they tell you to diversify your portfolio, never invest in a single stock. And in your certification, they say, here, we're fully available, use some availability zones and regions. And when the whole network goes down, as you've seen last time, and it's seen happen to every cloud provider this year, in some way, shape, or form, they had a pretty significant outage, or at least most of them, or a lot of them. Poof, you're all down. Now, half Azure, half AWS. Azure goes down, you're smiling. Azure will get fixed. AWS goes down. Ha, ha, ha. Azure's running fun. So it's about learning the right skills that solve customer business problems and make you the best you can be. Got a couple exciting things that I want to talk about to make sure that you don't forget. This afternoon, I'm giving you some break We are running a completely free subnetting workshop, and I will make it easy for you to understand. Tomorrow, we have a BGP workshop. And I've been working with BGP for 25 years. I had an article in Hacker Noon this morning on BGP. You can see it on my LinkedIn page if you follow us. People ask me to write BGP articles all the time. I've been teaching BGP to network engineers for 20 plus years. So we'll make sure you understand BGP. Tomorrow, we're going to have our How to Get Your First Cloud Architecture webinar. And guess what? It's going to be a great experience. You'll come. I'll tell you exactly everything you need to know, what needs to be on your resume, how to wow hiring managers when you have no experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And on Tuesday night, the Head in the Cloud show, which is the party time of the week for me, Chris, and Alonzo. Guess what? we're going to bring in my good friend, my student, Delroy Batt, and he's going to talk to you about how we helped him get his first cloud security architect job. He had no experience when we met him. Got him a great job last year. And now he's working as a cloud security architect, and he's got a big job, and he's real excited, and he's going to talk about it. It's going to be fun next Thursday night. Join our community, get cloud hired, sign up for our free things, etc. We got so much to help you build your best career. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I want to help you all get cloud hired, get the first solution architect job, that first cloud architect job, that first cloud engineer job, that first enterprise architect job. I just want to get you to get cloud hired. So everybody, give me a hashtag, cloud hired. And also, if you can give me a hashtag of the job you want, it'll help us understand you better so we can give you more targeted videos to make sure we can help you all get cloud hired, cloud promoted, and build your best technology career. Give me that stuff in the chat box, and I'll see you this afternoon in the Subnetting workshop. Take care. Take care.